achieved the targets within the PETA manifesto.
In the first quarter of 2025, Kenya records a 201 surge in cyber threats.
I'm okay with any, but at least payment and at least overwork.
Show me your connections and I'll show you your employment status. Youth express that skills do not guarantee jobs, networks do. Central African Republic in dire need of humanitarian assistance as conflict and hunger deepen. And regional violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo intensifies as more millions of people experience displacement. Hello and welcome to Focus Point News, where we bring you top stories to your point of focus. My name is Felipe Sinyambo. We are with you for the next 25 minutes. Feel free to join in the conversation on our social media platforms using the hashtag FocusOnNews. Thank you for joining us. Remember to join the conversation on our social media handles on Facebook, which is Focus Point News, on Twitter at Focus Point News, using the hashtag FocusOnNews. Now, in the first quarter alone of 2025, Kenya has seen a startling 201% increase in cyber threats. According to new data from Communications Authority, more than 2.5 billion events have been reported. The majority of these occurrences have been connected to system flaws and AI-powered attacks. Although Kenya is working on cyber security plan, it is argued that the greatest defense is still regular software upgrades, more robust encryption, and increased public awareness.
Cyber attacks are skyrocketing in Kenya. In just the first month of 2025, they increased by over 201%. At the top of the current trend, cyber safety at risk is ransomware, where its sophistication and frequency are only increasing. What is causing this explosion is now the crucial question.
We want to keep on innovating, we want to come with new products and services, but we never ever think of security when we are innovating. And therefore, I continue to call upon all of us here. In whatever we do, let's also always ensure that we have kind of secure by design in all that we do.
The cost to the economy is also high, as according to reports, cybercrime cost Kenya more than 12 billion shillings or around $83 million last year. Experts have made it obvious that cybersecurity is now a national security and an economic problem rather than merely an IT one. Stronger password, frequent upgrades, and being on the lookout for dubious email or links are now all necessary to be safe.
The government has put close to 40 billion investment in the digital infrastructure, but this is touching several years, approaching 10 years in terms of backbone infrastructure.
Additionally, given that earlier SMS-based code are getting easier to crack, it is advised to prioritize strengthening multi-factor authentication. Social engineering, which include phishing, smishing, and even speech fraud created by artificial intelligence, is another tactic used to deceive people into disclosing personal information or money. Because AI can mimic actual speech and writing, experts warn that these human-targeted attacks are becoming more convincing. Firms can now identify threats more quickly and react more effectively using the same technology that drives these attacks.
And our correspondent joins us live. From your report, we have understood that ransomware and AI-powered attacks are getting more sophisticated, as you stated, right? So how exactly are these hackers taking advantage of artificial intelligence?
Thank you, Felipe. And AI is certainly being used by intruders to automate process that once required weeks, such as creating phishing emails or checking for system weakness. That now AI is with us, deceiving victims by producing incredibly realistic phony messages or even cloned voices has become quite a walk in the park. Moreover, it increases the speed for hackers to test and distribute the ransomware. In essence, for them to remain in the game, the same technology that aids business in identifying threats is in use.
All right, thank you for that. Another worry to bring to this discussion is remote work and cloud-based attacks. How can organizations better safeguard themselves, and why are certain places particularly vulnerable?
We are talking practical when it comes to cloud configuration and remote work. However, they increase what experts call attack surface. Many workers use unprotected home networks to connect, or they combine business and personal equipment. Furthermore, one of the factors that contribute to data being exposed is cloud systems that are frequently configured incorrectly. Impenetrable access control, update software, and staff training to identify questionable linkages or behavior are the answers. Being knowledgeable of cybersecurity is as critical as having the appropriate equipment.
All right, so in light of all these new concerns such as social engineering, what realistic precautions could regular users take to keep safe online?
I leave the majority to the analyst.
Right.
But just to be alert, because majority of cyber attacks are successful due to small mistakes. Back to you, Feliv.
Short but powerful right there. Thank you so much for coming in. With me is Mr. Vincent Gimbi, who will expound more on this topic. Welcome, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. My name is Vincent Gimbi. I'm of Congolese nationality, Congo-Brazzaville, that is.
You have experienced cyber attacks before. Tell us about that and how you managed to work your way through.
I was a victim of a cyber attack. Yes, it happened to me once, and I can explain how it happens. I was working on my computer, and until, let's say, the evening, everything was okay. So that happened around maybe some 2-3 months ago. On the following day, as I switched on my computer, I noticed that the computer, instead of starting the normal way, that is, that when it's booting and then going to the desktop, it didn't boot correctly. It was directed to another desktop, which I didn't know. So I was wondering what is happening. I tried to access my emails. It didn't work. I tried to go to some of the platforms that we usually use, like MS Teams. It wasn't working. My profile was gone. And so for a whole day, I was trying to understand. And I had the idea to go, being an IT specialist myself, to go and check in the history. So I went to the settings, checked at the history, and could see that somebody had accessed my laptop from another city in Kenya, from Mombasa, and I was sitting in Nairobi. So that's how I knew that it was a cyber attack. And to avoid that person could access my files, immediately I disconnected from the network, so from internet. So that was the first countermeasure, to disconnect from internet. Number two, with my phone, I called my colleagues at work so that they can send me another password explaining what happened. So they did that, and I changed the password immediately. And so that the second countermeasure that came as a way of stopping the attack. Then I checked whether I could sign on my profile again. Yes, I could sign. But fortunately, since I acted very fast, so the person who was trying to hijack or to take over my profile didn't have time to do it. So what I would say is it is very important to act fast when you notice what is happening.
One of the factors of the rise of ransomware is the COVID-19 pandemic. What exactly is your view on that?
The question whether COVID-19 is one of the factors that has contributed to let's say, having more cases of cyber attacks. I don't have the statistics, but I would say that obviously, since more people are working online, more people interact online on a daily basis and are using various platforms. And as you use more and more platforms, the tendency is that you don't change your password very often because simply because you happen to forget, and this is also exemplified by the fact that sometimes when we go back to the platforms that we usually use, we forget the passwords and we have to change the password again. So it shows that although the network has a memory, internet has a memory, our memory is very small when it comes to accessing. So yes, I think it has contributed, and we have to be very careful about that. We have some popular platforms, like Zoom platforms is very popular, but in actual sense, we don't know how safe it is.
How would you advise on improving our cybersecurity system with keeping everything we own safe?
Okay, first of all, I would say that if you want to be safe from cyber attacks, number one, you have to know and understand what a cyber attack is. So you have to be informed about cyber attack. You have to read about that. If you can take some training, physical training, that is in-person training or online training, or ask people who are from that field to understand what is a cyber attack. Number two is to change passwords very often. So almost every month, it would be good to have a new password. Or if you cannot do it every month, but do it at least every 2 or 3 months for all your platforms. Number three is to have not to be registered on so many platforms or sites. You don't need all the platforms, you don't need all the sites, you don't need to be on all the social media platforms. You can also minimize those. Number four is to be very selective on the data that you are sharing online. Don't share, like your private data online. Don't record them on any platform, even on email. Don't send, emails to yourself, because people do that. They think that if you send an email to yourself with a password, nobody is going to access. It is not true. People can access. If they hijack your email address, they will be able to read everything. So those can be some of the countermeasures that you can take.
According to a recent research on youth unemployment in Kenya, the majority of young people still think that social connections and family background are more important than skills. Many cite lack of information, nepotism, and corruption as the main obstacles preventing competent young people from obtaining jobs. Others also acknowledge that they have looked for work through personal networks, yet they are still quite frustrated. Our correspondent Marion Dichu with more details on this story.
Many young individuals in Kenya claim that networking is more important than aptitude these days while looking for a job. People between the ages of 18 and 29 who participated in a recent youth employment research expressed a great deal of dissatisfaction with the way opportunities are allocated.
Mi nitakuwa okay with any, but at least payment and at least si overwhelmed.
Tricky sana.
About 4 out of 5 of the respondents that participated in this research reported having experienced feeling disadvantaged in a job search, and majority of them think that wealth and family history are important factors in landing a good job. According to almost 70% of the respondents, privilege very considerably influences one's ability to succeed in the job market.
In Kenya hakuna any jobs. So you opt hapo hivyo kwenda Qatar. Mimi hata nikienda miguu, mimi niko sawa. What
makes it even more telling is the fact that more than 80% of the respondents claimed to frequently hear about people getting jobs just because they know someone. Additionally, nearly half acknowledged that they had attempted to use their family or social connections to get employment on their own, with some even claiming that it was beneficial. This is how young people see the system, as a network game rather than as a fair competition. Most of the individuals mentioned feelings of resentment, despair, and even rage when asked about how they feel about it.
Tumesoma, tumefika kila penye taikana, tuko na makaratasi, imekuwa kama ni kalenda kwa nyumba. Itusaidii.
Tunapigana na mambo ya uongozi mbaya, tunapigana na mambo ya ya corruption.
Nikaa corruption imekuwa devolutionized from kuko juu mpaka huko chini. Kama wewe huna pesa, huwezi pata that chance. Unakuta most graduates maybe wanafanya kazi zenye hata huyo mtu hakusomea.
They believe that the largest obstacles facing young people from average or low-income families are corruption, nepotism, and informational gaps. According to the study, only 2 respondents think employers provide everyone with an equal chance. There is, however, hope within the frustration, a stronger need for justice and merit. Many respondents express a desire for hiring practices to prioritize equal opportunity, transparency, and competence. They maintain that young Kenyans would finally have a fair shot at success if the labor market valued competence over connections. For the time being, the majority are only cautiously optimistic that their abilities alone will get them a good job, which indicates that systemic trust is yet to be restored. Mario Ndichu, reporting for Focus Point News.
Mr. Prince Seni will be sharing his opinions concerning this matter. Welcome, Mr. Prince. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, based on this study, if 2 graduates with the same qualifications apply for a job, one with a connection, the other without, we know who's more likely to get hired. So how can we call this a merit-based system, and what are employers doing to break this cycle?
First of all, what a wonderful question to even start off the interview with. It really shows how knowledgeable and smart you are when it comes to the going-ons in this country. Second of all, you're right. There is an issue when it comes to the recruitment process in this country. We have an example, for example, last year, somebody was hired to become the blood ambassador of this country when they have a communications degree. In my opinion, and many people have said that the same thing. There's little to no correlation between the two. So how can that be? We also have the former deputy president who went to a graduation ceremony, and he basically told the graduates that there are no jobs in this country for them to do. So, it's like clearly there are jobs because they're seeing them every day, but the jobs are only, secluded or meant for those with connections, and that should change because the Employment Act of 2007 basically prohibits discrimination in this country, yet we see it every day. But what are employers doing about it? Good question. We have 2 things that the employers are doing. Number 1 is blind recruitment. What is blind recruitment, you may ask? Blind recruitment is when when you submit an application, your resume, your CV for a job, the employer looking for recruits does not see your name or the school that you're from. Your name and school is redacted, and what they see is only your skills and your experience. That has definitely helped people to get jobs based on their merit, compared to their connections, which has been prevalent in this country for a long time. Another way that we have seen employers basically tackle the issue is basically a shift in reliance on more of digital recruitment. And what does that mean? We have had platforms such as Brighter Monday here in Kenya. Brighter Monday is a local company here in Kenya that basically allows Kenyans to apply online for a job, whether they're in the south, west, north, east. And it's been successful because you no longer have to go to, like, for example, your brother, your cousin, your local chief, and apply for a job or ask for a job, right? This is something that is basically almost every Kenyan can basically have access to. It's not every Kenyan, all you need is internet access. And boom, if you definitely are the best one for the job based on your skills and basically experience, you'd get the job. And another one is that is more internationally recognized is LinkedIn. I am one of the few Kenyans who have basically gone through the process of using LinkedIn and seen its success, and I can say for sure that is definitely something that has helped reduce the discrimination that has been there for many, many years.
Well, is the future really bright though? Because there are some individuals in the recent study that are cautiously confident that their skills alone will land them a job. So what can you say about that? Will they get to experience a brighter Monday, so to say, when they go job searching?
Well, my answer to that is just one: awareness. I feel like, like for example, Brighter Monday that I've mentioned and you've mentioned, very good, like that. Brighter Monday and LinkedIn, and also the employers that are offering blind recruitment need to do more to raise awareness to Kenyans who have applied or gone through the job recruitment process as I have and may have not been successful as I have. They need to raise awareness to those people who have lost hope in the system, to tell them that the system has changed and is continuing to change. There are more jobs available today for those ones who have not been able to apply to before, and the system is changing in terms of, like, for example, blind recruitment, and more companies as well, such as one of the largest the biggest employers in this country, such as Safaricom, need to also implement such systems such as blind recruitment and rely more on online recruitment, digital recruitment. And this will definitely raise the morale, because what your question seems to be telling me is that people have lost hope, and it makes sense after years of discrimination, right? It's not easy to just wake up one day and be full of light, full of hope that things are different now. If I apply for jobs for the 1001 time, I'm gonna get it, but it just needs more awareness from companies, employers. Even Brighter Monday needs to do more talks, news articles, TV interviews on national television, such as the interview I'm doing right now, in order to reach out to these people and tell them that everything is going to be all right from now on and change is coming.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prince, for your time and insights.
Thank you so much.
Coming up after the break, the Central African Republic faces a deepening humanitarian crisis amidst ongoing insecurity, displacement, and lack of basic services. You do not want to miss. Stay with us. This week, it's Silabi's Kalosi at just 800 Kenyan shillings a kilogram. Remember, if you want gourmet coffee, begin with whole beans and grind them just before brewing. Succumb to coffee on the way and move into the world of gourmet coffee. Welcome back. This is Focus Point News, and you're with me, Felipe Sinyambo. Now, the humanitarian situation in Central African Republic is worsening as hundreds of thousands of people are being displaced in their homes due to conflict and instability. According to the UN Refugee Agency, over 700,000 people are seeking refuge in neighboring countries, while over 670,000 are still internally displaced. Our correspondent Gift Isezerano with more.
The Central African Republic is one of Africa's countries with one of the most underlooked and prolonged humanitarian crises. Nowadays, about 38% of the population depend on humanitarian assistance. According to UNHCR, funding shortages are seriously hindering humanitarian efforts.
En Afrique, la République centrafricaine fait partie des plus grands pays en Afrique parce qu'on dépasse beaucoup de pays. Mais nous sommes les pays les plus pauvres, parmi les pays les plus pauvres. Et vous savez, il y a beaucoup de pays qui dépassent la République centrafricaine. Et s'il y a des choses, on a un manque d'informations, on a un manque de médias. Parce que s'il y a quelque chose au pays, les médias étaient censés partager ça. Et quand à l'étranger, les gens n'ont pas l'idée de ce qui se passe ici à Bangui, les gens ont tendance à minimiser le pays. Je prends l'exemple sur l'Ukraine. S'il y a quelque chose à l'Ukraine, Et s'il y a aussi une chose ici, les gens vont laisser la République centrafricaine pour aller en Ukraine parce que il y a beaucoup de choses qui sont plus bien là-bas que nous ici à Bangui. On a ce manque-là. Et ça fait que les investisseurs ne peuvent pas venir, les gens ne peuvent pas venir parce qu'ils ont un manque de cette communication-là.
The rate of displacement is still alarming as more than 460,000 people are internally displaced within the nation, while over 700,000 individuals have fled to neighboring countries such as Chad, Cameroon, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The food situation is also alarming as it is estimated that between April and August 2025, 2.2 million individuals would face food insecurity crisis or worse. The answer is in progress but remains severely underfunded. According to the European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations, 19.7 million euros has been set aside for relief activities in 2025, including 2.5 million euros for disaster preparedness. That is a little less than 2024's 22.4 million euros.
In the meantime, with 145 security incidents in 2024 that directly affect humanitarian workers, Central African Republic remains one of the most dangerous countries for them, making it extremely difficult to reach vulnerable populations. In summary, a serious humanitarian crisis still affects Central African Republic. Massive needs exist, access is still limited, and the discrepancy between what is needed and what is being provided remains concerning, even with the donor help. Giftis Azarana reporting for Focus Point News.
Joining me in this discussion is Mr. Regis Sinyembo, a humanitarian worker in the Central African Republic. Welcome, and how are you, sir?
Thank you very much for having me on Focus Point News, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Thanks for asking.
All right, thank you for joining in. Given that 38% of the population is in need of humanitarian assistance, what is being done to address the root cause of this crisis beyond just providing aid? Should the international community be doing more to push for lasting peace and development?
Yeah, well, it is true that the population, 38% of the population is in the need of humanitarian help in this country. But what is being done by humanitarian community right now is passing on to the government to take over some of the programs that we are handling here, such as school feeding programs, which is catered to feed children who are going to school. While they are in school, they take a break, they have lunch in school so that when they go home, they don't go hungry, and it allows them to keep children in school and help the education to also grow at the same time to help the country go forward.
And with 2.2 million people expecting to reach emergency levels of food insecurity between April and August 2025, how is that looking like now?
Well, it's true that 2.2 million are reaching the level of food insecurity in the country between April and August. But right now the situation is like we are trying to encourage more people for farming and to go for opportunities to use the land instead of just depending on the international community and so on and so forth. But well, there is a bit of improvement, but more is still to come.
Lastly, in 2024, there was a striking 7% increase in violence and security incidents. How do humanitarian workers such as yourself cope, and how can Central African Republic's government and international partners help mitigate the impact of this problem overall?
Yes, it's true that in 2024 there was a 7% increase in violence amongst the community here, but right now the situation has gone a bit down. The government has been able to take care of security in most of the areas. Some places are still not safe, especially for humanitarian workers such as myself, but we are able to be accepted by the community because we are not discriminating. We are helping the population entirely, regardless of their belonging parties or which side of the political area they are operating from.
Thank you very much, Mr. Regis, for your time. Stay safe. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, violence continues to escalate, where millions have been displaced due to the clashes between the government and the M23 rebels. Recently, rebels took over the city of Goma, which led to a triggering wave of refugee crisis and humanitarian disaster. Approximately 23 million people are currently experiencing extreme food insecurity, and over 7 million people are internally displaced. Our correspondent Maina Isaac, who is on ground, has more details on this.
Despite international peace attempts, one of the deadliest and most complicated conflicts in Africa is becoming out of control. At least 7,000 people have died since January as the M23 rebels advanced forward into the North Kivu region. There have been entire communities caught in the crossfire. According to the UN, over 90 displacement camps have been demolished, leaving almost 450,000 people without a place to live. As violence engulfs the villages and the towns surrounding Goma, the province capital and the crucial strategic hub, families are escaping on foot, frequently carrying the little they can.
It's so sad what is happening there, and our families are there, so we are really affected because we are students here, but our resources, our sponsors are from DRC back home. And then once they're affected by the war, and then we are also affected financially, so even emotionally, you can't do so much things maybe at school. Instead of thinking on how to study, how to do so much things, but you are thinking to your family, how are they doing? Maybe you're wondering, maybe today, how is today? So you don't know about them even tomorrow. So every day people have been killed, every day. So even the media have been tired to just be announcing the news.
Aid organizations report chaotic scenes including overburdened hospitals, bodies on the streets, and temporary camps that are grappling with supplying medical attention, food, and water. Recent attacks are thought to have killed close to 3,000 people in Goma alone. Kigali continues to refute the Congolese government's accusation that neighbor Rwanda is backing the M23 rebels. Tensions between the nations are at an all-time high, and regional attempts to mediate settlements have so far failed to stop the conflict. With the displacement of over 7 million people nationwide and over 23 million experiencing severe food insecurity, the increased violence is one of the worst conflicts in history.
When I hear about people dying, there's some member of my family, relatives dying, their lives become complicated. Myself, I'm affected because I'm a student. Yeah, it doesn't come into my ears as a good news, and so I really don't feel well. I don't feel good.
As international pressure grows for both sides to put down their weapons and for peacekeepers to secure vital routes for delivery of supplies, the war has turned into a cycle of loss and uncertainty for the average Congolese. However, the situation on the ground is still dire, as entire towns have been abandoned, residents are afraid, and the nation is once again at the mercy of armed groups competing for territory, power, and minerals that lie beneath their feet. Reporting for the Focus Point News, I am Maina Isaac.
Mr. Simon Pistache will be taking us through this discussion on Focus Point News. Welcome, Mr. Simon, and thank you for joining us. So is there any hope at all for change in the DRC? Do you think there's hope at all?
If Congolese people take decision on that issue, imagine, of course, we're African, and behind that, international community are there. They know what is happening there. Although politically they say they're going to end that war, but they know the interest that they gain, because actually technology, if going back to the history, Congo has a resource that can, most of technology in the world the resource comes from DRC, particularly that region. And when those international community discovered that things, but they don't want to leave it, like that. They take advantage on that thing. But as a young Congolese, I can say there is hope. There is hope if ourselves we take that decision and we say no, enough is enough. And to make change, we cannot, ask help from outside. That help must come from for us, not from outside. It can come ourselves to get that decision, to create peace. Yeah, of course, we have our leaders there. Those leaders are corrupted. We are still young, and we have a vision for our country. Imagine we cannot say other countries like Kenya is developing and they do not have resources like DRC. We're able. There is hope to end that war.
How can the international community better support civilians, especially displaced people and women, without worsening tensions on ground?
International community must support DRC, and first of all to respect Congolese constitution. And we are all human beings. Every country has its constitution. They cannot impose their constitution to our country. That is, it cannot work like that. We know we value human beings. Okay, the way they are treating, especially women and children in that area. It is not about Congolese. They are the one cause those things. If they could bring peace, tell those rebels to leave, then those guys stay in peace. Women, actually, let me tell you, people are suffering are women and ladies, and we have some proverb which says, when two elephants is fighting, only the tree hooves feel the consequences. They're innocent in that war. If international community decide to make hand on that war, it can happen. Yeah, we as a Congolese, we do our best to make hand, but those rebels sometimes, when you see they are supported by those guys, international community. How can you determine that? We have no choice. We don't have that power of making, such actual technology with these arms, supported by those rebels. Rebels are supported by the internal community. We are just we have our local arms, machete, nini, but if someone comes with a sophisticated arm to kill, would you say that the Congolese are killing people or those rebels supported by the international community? Yeah, the two must be said, and the war must cease in that area, so that Congolese must have their liberty and to embrace, development very well.
All right, thank you so much for enlightening us on this heavy story.
This week, it's Silabi's Kalosi at just 800 Kenyan shillings a kilogram. Remember, if you want gourmet coffee, begin with whole beans and grind them just before brewing. So come to Coffee on the Way and move into the world of gourmet coffee.
Thank you so much for staying with us as we present you with news that matter. We value your time and trust. Remember to interact with our social media accounts to keep you well updated. I'm Felice Sinyambo. Have a pleasant one. Join me on the next episode with more stories. And thank you for watching.